Hello, everybody. Welcome to this VC Lab info session. Super excited to see you here. Thank you for joining us. If this is your first time joining us on one of these events, my name is Mike Supervici. I'm the head of acceleration here at Desal Group. Desal Group's entire purpose of existence is to help new and emerging managers thrive. We do so through training, which we're going to discuss today, which is the VC Lab program. We have Desal Hub, which has become the operating system for most venture capitalists. We're going to cover that a little bit later. We have a fund of funds that backs new and emerging managers, and we have Desal Partners, an entire back office system to help new and emerging managers thrive. If this is your first time, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, say hello and all that. That being said, do not mention your fund and what you're working on, okay? That is a general solicitation risk, so you do not want to put that into the chat or anything like this. In addition, right at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A button. You can add questions there and things like that, and then upvote them. And I'm going to keep prompting you to do so as we get through this entire hour together. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to go through a brief presentation on VC Lab, how it works, what it does, everything about it. And then I'm going to take the deck off the screen. And then what I really want to do is get into your questions and answer any sort of questions that you have about the program itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the presentation here. All right, awesome, cool. So before I get started though with this presentation, there's always there seems to be a lot of like negative news about venture capital and things like this in the media. We're not seeing any of this, by the way. This is arguably one of the best, if not the best time to be a venture investor. This is because, a lot of the founders that are building companies right now are building them with like less resources and things like that. So, this is historically going to be one of the best time to invest in these funds or in these companies. And also, we're not really seeing the kind of fundraising challenges that kind of you hear in the news and things like that. So if I were you, I would sort of ignore a lot of this stuff. Most of the stuff that you see online about this is wrong. Most of the data in PitchBook is wrong, and we're not seeing any of this information. Okay. So if you're going to launch a fund, this is a good time to do it. As long as, of course, you have the time and the effort and the perseverance to do so, okay? And what VC Lab does is it's purpose-built. It's an accelerator that's purpose-built for new managers to build enduring venture capital firms, okay? This is really important. So if you're sort of just joined and are kind of doing something else, I totally respect that. But just hear me out for 1 minute, okay? This is a program that's designed to help new and emerging managers build enduring venture capital firms, not funds. Enduring venture capital firms, not funds. Okay. It's not worth this. It's not worth it for you to do just a one-off fund. It's just not worth it. The math doesn't work. The economics doesn't work if this is your first time doing this. So really what we're here to do is to help founders of venture capital firms build the next generation Sequoia or whatever the case may be. And if you have additional questions about that, I'm happy to help you. I just want to make sure we sort of calibrate this call because, I want this to, know exactly what you're sort of kind of signing up for and what this program is all about. Okay. So VC Lab is a 3-month closing accelerator. This isn't like a learning program. This isn't about like, how do I learn about venture capital, what venture capital is and all this stuff. That's not that. You're going to close a fund at the end of the program, and that's the expectation of this, okay? So you're going to go through a program, you're going to have all the support and guidance that you need, and you're expected to perform a first closing right at the end of the program or shortly after, okay? This is a closing program. This is a very tactical program. It's not a program where you can sort of like learn about venture capital and things like that. Of course, you're going to learn by doing, but the whole expectation here is that you're gonna close. Okay, so just wanted to sort of put that out there so that everybody knows what this is about. All right. And we're gonna like systematically walk you through everything that you need to do to get this done very, very efficiently. Now, look, we've done 15 cohorts to date. This is we're going on 16. We rebuild the curriculum every single cohort. We do this 5 times a year now. We've seen hundreds and hundreds of managers. Actually, we've launched 500 venture capital firms. So we've seen a lot of things that work. We've seen a lot of things that don't work. And we purpose built that into this curriculum. And one of the biggest issues that we generally see is that people do things out of order. Like some of you on this call probably have already started working on your deck for your fund, even though you don't have, commitments from limited partners that are signed. Like this is a huge problem. Some of you have already started wasting your time with lawyers and back office providers, even though you don't have the commitments to actually close a fund. These are like classic mistakes that often turn out to be deadly, right? And so what we do is we try to help you do things at the right time in the right order. So if you are on this call and if you already started wasting your time with lawyers, please do not talk to lawyers right now. This is a bad time. If you're like talking to like some super aggressive salesperson from like a fund admin provider, please just tell them, say, hey, not right now. I'm circling commitments, and when we start a closing, we'll go ahead and talk to you about this. Okay. So first month, we're going to help you really make sure that you have a world-class thesis. What's a world-class thesis? It's a thesis. It's a one-sentence thesis that you tell LPs, and 1 in 5 LPs sign the letters of intent that they're going to invest in your fund without a deck, without materials, without anything. That's how good your thesis is. Okay. Once you have a really good thesis, now you have the foundation for everything. Okay. Every word in your thesis is effectively a slide in your deck. It's a process for your model, right? So you can start building things on top of that, right? You're going to start pitching LPs, just so everybody's out of like pure expectations to management here. You're going to start pitching LPs, starting with like your friendlies, people that are in your close circle here within like the first month. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's a closing accelerator. Then you're going to ramp up those in month 2 while you're building out materials and things like this, right? In month 3, you're going to really solidify your data room and everything that you need for bigger institutional kind of LPs, right? And then you're going to sort of do a closing here in month 4. All right. Now, if you follow our system and our guidance, you're going to close very, very fast. So just to kind of give you a sense here, most people that try to start funds take about 2 years to get to a final close if things go right. Generally, a year and a half to get to the first close. Okay. Because we've done this so many times and we've seen so many people try to go through this and try to get to a closing, and we've been iterating on this, on average, most people in the VC Lab Accelerator do a first closing within 4 months. And many people are coming in with just an idea, okay? And so if you trust the process and if you really, really go all in into this accelerator and this curriculum, it's going to work really well. And like I said, we've launched, almost 500 venture capital firms. This works all over the world. 66% of alumni are outside the United States, right? So there's no like, hey, well, in my region or in my country or in my thing, like, does this work for me? We've done this. This has been global from the very, very beginning. Okay, so just kind of try to, if you sort of follow the process, if you trust the process, you're going to be in a really good spot and you're going to learn a lot and you're going to close really, really fast, right? So just trust the process. Okay. In addition to that, we help very specialized. We have very specialized tracks for different people that are building different types of funds. So, for example, a lot of you are starting AI funds. AI is incredibly competitive right now, just because everybody's starting AI funds, right? So, like the way you position your stuff, the way you think through your stuff, it's different, right? So, we've created a AI track specifically for you to help you. Impact. All the impact people on the call, you all are going to have a really hard time, right? Because a lot of people are not going to, a lot of LPs are not going to know what bucket to put you in. Are you like sort of like a foundation? Are you like in a do-gooder kind of fund, or are you like a pure fund to try to create returns, right? So how to think through that process is really, really important. So impact funds generally have a really tough time because of the positioning they have. So we decided to kind of help you build a specific narrative to help you make this work, okay? There's many of you that have accelerators, okay? So, or are part of accelerators and things like this. That's a very different style of fun, very different process, right? You're kind of almost like a school, right? So there, it's a different positioning, right? Studios, these are folks that are, you know, building out, they're coming up with the ideas, then they built these sort of like studios around them to launch them, and now they want to build a fund around it, right? Very different thing, lots of conflict of interest issues, all sorts of problems, right? So we basically created an entire studio track for you so that we can provide you with more customized guidance, okay? And then finally, emerging managers. And then, you know, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant here on this because, you know, there's a lot of people going around calling themselves emerging managers that are not really emerging managers. So let's go ahead and get the definition straight, and then I'll talk about this a little bit more. Okay. So a new manager is someone that's starting a new fund in a new firm. I don't care if you have a lot of experience. I don't care if you were a VC before at another firm. If you're starting a new firm and a new fund, LPs are going to consider you a new manager. Okay. If you're starting fund 2 or fund 3 or fund 4 under the same firm that you founded as a founder, as a managing partner, okay, you're now considered an emerging manager. All right. Very different. And so what ends up happening right now, again, it's because a lot of people, like most things in venture, a lot of these things are opaque. People don't know. A lot of people that are new managers are calling themselves emerging managers and things like that. And again, that creates a lot of issues for you from a credibility point of view when you're going out and pitching VCs. I mean, pitching LPs. Now, emerging folks, you know, you all have a very different narrative, right? Because you already have a fund 1 under the same firm. You know, you might have track record and things like that. So just thinking through the thesis, the strategy, and all those things, very different. So we created a very specialized emerging track, and you have very specialized curriculum as well, because your journey and your process is different, right? So for example, a lot of the new managers, they have to think about naming. You probably don't have to think about naming because you've already thought through that, all right? Things like that. This program, you're going to be joined by thousands of top managers worldwide as part of this community. It's one of the biggest, you know, competitive advantages that you have, because you have a community of people that are here to support you, help you scale, and bounce ideas off of as well. And you know, there's an entire sort of knowledge base that's built into the systems and the tools that you're using, where you're able to you know, share your knowledge, have other people in the community add feedback, and answer all of your questions. Okay. In addition to that, you know, we provide you with all the tools that you need to achieve top decile performance. You know, and again, this is to give you an unfair advantage, because, you know, we want you to win and win big. And one of the biggest issues that we saw when we started VC Lab, you know, back, you know, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago now, you know, it's like people were like cobbling together 7 or 8 different tools with like a Zapier integration. I mean, think about how crazy that is if you sort of think about this from like, you know, blank canvas, right? You're managing tens and $20 million, $30 million, $40 million on a Zapier integration. That's just wild, right? So we built the entire operating system for you, and you get that for being part of the program, okay? It's called Decile Hub. It basically does everything you need to basically run your venture fund, right? All of your LP outreach comes with templates, everything you need. It's got a full-on AI co-pilot that helps you with strategy and all these other things. So it's like purpose-built specifically for you. And the whole point of this is to try to make this process faster and easier for you. Finally, you know, Decile Base, and then we'll put the link to Decile Base here in the chat. You know, this is where you can, you know, we've answered thousands and thousands of questions that you have. So if you haven't checked out Decile Base, I recommend that you go there now. You can ask questions, you can ask strategic questions. And this tool has been trained only on our information, and it's not allowed to, the LLM is not allowed to go out to the internet to answer questions for you, because most of the information on there is not right. And so it's purpose built specifically for you. So you're going to get really, really good advice specific to venture and decile base as well, right? So you've got all of this kind of tools and systems to help you be really, really successful. In addition to that, we're building a global LP network right now. We have a program called the LP Institute where we're training LPs on how to invest in new and emerging managers, which is very different than investing in established managers, because new and emerging managers, you just don't have a lot of data, right? So a lot of these decisions that you're making, that LPs are making, are more are qualitative rather than quantitative, right? So we built an entire program to help people, and we're training 50 new LPs every single quarter. And so far, the LPs that we've trained are investing roughly around 700 million over the next 2 years in new and emerging managers. Okay. We're building entire deal flow sharing systems built into hubs so that you can collaborate on deals and do better as a team, as everybody's, you all have small funds, so you're going to be collaborating with each other, right? You have an entire venture event built platform into hub. Most of your fundraising is going to happen through events and things like this. So we built this purpose built for you, right? So you kind of have everything there, right? Let's talk really quickly about application and admissions, and then I see that there's some questions coming into the Q&A. So everybody start throwing your questions in there, because I really want to spend most of this time answering all of your questions with regards to everything that we sort of do. Okay, so just so you get a sense, in the last cohort that we did, we had 3,600 people start applications. Okay, we down select down to roughly 250 to 300 firms into the program, okay? And what we're trying to accomplish with this admissions workflow is to make sure that there's maximum alignment of expectations. Like, we want to make sure that you're in a good spot to actually do a closing, that you understand what you're sort of signing up for, right? Because if we're going to work and try to help you, we want to make sure that we can actually deliver on expectations there, okay? So you're going to get an admissions decision. And then the next step after that is going to be complete an interview. All right. So you're going to set up a call with one of our team members. It's 15 minutes. And we're going to ask you a series of questions, because we want to make sure that, again, you're in a good spot to sort of take advantage of this opportunity right now, right, for this cohort. If you're not, that's okay. We'll let you know. And then you can come into a future cohort, no problem, no big deal. We just want to make sure you're going to take full advantage of this, and then you're going to thrive in the program, okay? Second, let's say that goes well, okay? Everybody here is going to be required to share the Mensarius Oath publicly, and we can put this in the chat here for everybody here. Everybody here is going to be required to share the Mensarius Oath publicly. Look, if you do not want to share this publicly, I just want to be clear, like, we don't want to work with you. We are trying to, the reason we're doing this is because we want to help venture become a better, and there's a lot of unethical behavior that's happening in the venture industry. And so we only want to work with people that care about the Mensarius Oath. People internally share the Mensarius Oath, care about the Mensarius Oath, have adopted the Mensarius Oath. All of the previous alumni before you have done so, and this is really designed to help you be super successful at your craft while doing really, really well, right? Doing really well by the founders that you're investing in, managing your LP's money to the highest fiduciary standards, right? Like, this is the whole purpose of it, right? And so, and the reason we want you to share it publicly is because there's more skin in the game that way, right? Like, if it's actually on your LinkedIn versus you checking a box, it's actually there's a lot more bite to it, right? So that creates maximum alignment of expectations, okay? So you're going to need to share this as part of this. We generally don't have any issues with this, but I just want to make sure that you understand that once you get an admissions decision, you're going to be required to this, and we're going to check it, and we're going to keep checking it, right? Because we want to make sure that this is actually something you've done for it. So what does that mean? It means that you're going to be sharing it on LinkedIn, on your LinkedIn profile. I see here is like, does this mean sharing it on your firm's page? You should not be having a website, everyone. Like, no one here should have a website. Okay, literally, that's a general solicitation problem. So if you have a website, just take it down. Okay. All right. Then after you get accepted, you're going to be prompted to select an enrollment package. All right. Some of you have seen this, but we can go ahead and put into the GoVC Lab/enrollment. Right. By the way, everybody, I see there's questions coming into the chat. Put them into the Q&A. I'll go ahead and answer this. But you're going to be asked to select the package. Right. The most basic package here. You're going to get weekly curriculum. You're going to get community and all this other stuff, all the tools that we discussed. Plus, you're going to start getting office hours, group office hours with us, and we're going to help you. And then platinum, you're going to get like one-on-one help and advice, and you can read about all of these packages at the link that we provided into the chat. All right. So all of this is available here to help you. Okay. Now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, but before I do that, we are starting to wrap admissions here. So go to govclab.com, submit an application. If you haven't thought about doing that, do it now so that we can get going and get you processed. Because if you wait till the last moment, it becomes harder and harder for us to let you in because we're dealing with, again, thousands and thousands of people that have applied. Okay. All right. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get into the question. So everyone, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. It's got like a little question mark on it. Take a look at those questions. Please upvote them as well. So if there's like questions that you really want me to answer, go ahead and upvote them and I'll go ahead and answer all of your questions, okay? What is the percentage of people who join the program that are able to launch a firm? So the admissions cycle kind of goes like this. Roughly about 3,600 people start applications, Andres. About 250 get through the admissions cycle that we discussed. Okay. And then we have very important milestones that you have to reach. And if you're unable to reach those milestones, we're going to tell you to come back to a future cohort. Okay. So for example, you're going to need to have LP commitments by the first review. You're going to need more LP commitments by the second review, and then eventually be at the point where you can close, hopefully by the third review. Okay. And so from a percentage basis, roughly about half the people that come in, are maybe a little bit less, are able to kind of graduate towards at the end. The others end up kind of having to come back to future ones and things like that, right? So again, we set very hard milestones because we want to make sure that we help you get to where you need to get to. What is the requirement to join VC Lab? What is the percentage of people that launch between 4 to 12 months? I just kind of covered that. Again, it's 100% if you want to sort of think about this way. Like you cannot finish the program and now close your fund, right? This is a closing program, and that's the whole point of this. In what's required, and there's no like requirement, right? But we do look for things in the application process to ensure that you have the ability to go out and close a fund in the next 4 months, right? So like, is your network big enough? Do you know enough LPs and things like this? We look for stuff like that. If I'm a party of one today, do I need to build an LLC and build a team of GPs capable of getting into the cohort? Or what are the top 3 requirements that we would make the cut? Hey, Chris, don't create any structure. Okay, this is super dangerous. This creates a lot of headaches and work and could end up like causing a lot more issues than you would think. So no structure. Like the last thing that you do, everybody, in case you joined late, the last thing you do is you talk to lawyers and admin and all those providers. This is after you have the commitments from LPs, not before. Okay, I know it's counterintuitive. There's a lot of founders on the call today. So like when you started your company, you went to whatever, Stripe Atlas or whatever, and incorporated your company and started working on it. Funds are the exact opposite. You do all of the structuring, everything, basically anything that costs money, right? Usually you do that at the end after you have the LP commitments. If you do it before, it's possible that the LP commitments back out. They might tell you, I don't want you in this domicile or whatever, and you have to throw everything away. So in every cohort, we have this issue where people have to throw away hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff. And then they don't want to do it, right? Because it's $100,000. You're like, I don't want to throw away $100,000 worth of stuff. but that's because, you know, they made a critical mistake, which is that they kind of went on it. So what you need to do, Chris, is not worry about that. Second, do not partner with people that you don't know. Again, this isn't like a startup. Okay. If the managing partners break up, it's death. Okay. This isn't like a startup with nice vesting schedules or anything like this. Okay. So you do not ever want to work with people that you haven't worked with extensively in the past before. Okay. Because you are basically, think about it like this: you're signing up to work with these people for the next 20 years. This isn't like a startup where you can just shut it down. These funds are 10 years. And in order for the business of venture capital to work, you really need 3 or 4 funds, right? So if you sort of think about that and the extent, you know, each one you're doing every 2 to 3 years, right? You're basically signing up for like a 20-year commitment, right? And so the idea that you're going to sign up for a 20-year commitment with some people that you don't really know, bad idea. So just be a solo GP. Over 60% of the funds we launch are solo GPs. It's a non-issue. You can build your team over future funds with people that you can maybe eventually promote to be a managing partner like you, and it's a non-issue. So don't worry about it. So if you don't have partners, all good. Just come in and be a solo GP. What do you consider as a successful finishing of the program? Is it to get the first commitment or LPs of the fund or something else? Yeah, you're going to need, you know, you're going to need to be in a position to do a first closing RK. Okay. And we're going to be looking at your, you know, you're looking at all of your commitments, right? And we're going to make sure that you actually have, and they're real, and then you actually have enough LP commitments to go out and start closing a fund. Now, for most people, you know, that's between 1 to 2 million in hard circled, like signed letter of intents from LPs. That's what generally you need to start doing a closing. And so we want to make sure that you're sort of on track to do that. Okay. That's basically what it is. And again, if you follow the process, as I've outlined in this deck, and you go through it and you sort of like give yourself to this, and you just, you know, say, hey, I'm just going to do this and listen to what we say in a way, and kind of give yourself to this methodology, you're going to get there. You know, you're going to get there because, you know, we're going to make sure through admissions that you have the network and all the stuff, and then it's just up to you to make the time and make it work, right? So trust the process and you're going to be fine. Again, there's a question about matchmaking. Matchmaking is a terrible idea, Shani. Do not ever partner with people you don't know. And no, we don't support that because, again, it's a huge mistake. Huge mistake. Coaching, mentoring process early on to craft your investment thesis. This is how we do it. So you're gonna be in a community. You're gonna be posting your thesis. We're gonna be providing you with feedback. You know, depending on sort of which kind of package you choose, you may get community advice. You may get you know, office hours, group office hours, or you know, like one-on-one office hours with us. So we'll help you there. If you're on one of the tracks, right, we do spend a good amount of time on thesis because that's obviously very important in the first time. So you're going to get quite a lot of support from everybody. And, you know, we host two sessions a week. So we have an AMA with myself and the rest of the leadership team at VC Lab. And we also have a mentor session on the other week. So you're going to be able to get like a lot of support on all these things. So hopefully that's helpful. What selection criteria and what backgrounds or requirements are you looking at? Like, look, I mean, there's a couple of things we look at. One is, do you have the network to be able to pull this off? You know, especially if you're a first fund, you know, if you sort of think about how you're going to close out your first fund, it's generally going to be from, at least certainly the first and second closing is going to be from people in your network that you have some sort of relationship with. So we want to make sure you have a really strong network. Also, you know, venture capital is a network business. You know, that's literally what it is. And that's why you're going to be able to win over other people. And so your ability to find deals through your network and things like this is going to be critical. So we're going to be looking at that as part of the process. We're going to be looking at sort of, you know, GP thesis fit. right? So like if you're, I don't know, if you've been a physician your whole life and then you're going to start like a crypto fund now, like I'm going to be like, what? That doesn't make any sense, right? So like we're going to look for things like that as well. And then, we want to make sure you have the time, right? This is serious, right? Like you're going to launch a venture capital firm and you're going to do this as a career, right? And so you're going to have to put in the time, And so initially when we're getting ramping up, you can definitely be part-time, but once you start closing, which is like towards, month 3 or 4, you're going to have to be kind of all in on this project, right? Because you're going to launch a new venture capital firm and you're going to do that as a career for the next 15, 20 years, right? So we want to make sure you're sort of ready for that. How professionally produced does the video and the application need to be? What are you looking for here? It doesn't need to be professionally produced. That's not what we're looking for. But at the same time, it's not great if you're sort of walking around in a park or something either, right? Like I'm trying to see how you pitch over Zoom to LPs, right? Now, it's not going to be a recorded, like a professionally recorded thing that you pitch LPs. I just want to see sort of how you're interacting with people. How are you on Zoom or whatever the case may be. So, do 1 or 2 cuts or whatever, but don't go crazy on the being professional. But at the same time, also try not to do it while you're walking around the park or something. Do you have special support people for underserved communities looking to break into VC? Look, we have a program called Venture Institute that's literally designed for people that are trying to break into VC as like an analyst or a principal or something like this. And it's all about like learning about venture capital. Okay. That's called the Venture Institute. And we'll eventually post a link in the chat to that. That's not what VC Lab is though, right? VC Lab is for people that are going to be founders of these next generation venture capital firms. And so, that's what that is. As far as like underserved communities and things like this, obviously this is something very important to us. We have an impact track for this purpose. If you haven't seen the female Venture 50 initiative, where we're trying to work really hard to get the entire venture industry to be 50% women led, right? So like these kinds of things are obviously very important to us. It's just that, the way you have the most impact is by making sure that the funds that are launched are producing incredible results, right? Because if they do that, then these things become the way, right? Then it's no longer, hey, I'm just trying to help a certain archetype of founder or a certain initiative or something like this, right? For the sake of helping that, is that by doing so, this is you're going to have really good returns and you're going to create really big businesses. And as a result of that, you're going to have massive impact, right? It's kind of like the opposite here. What's a realistic fund size for an emerging manager to achieve? It really depends on your network, where you're located, and things like this. Most emerging managers overestimate their ability to fundraise, which again is another which is another big cause of death in venture capital, right? So people think that they can raise more money than they think, and they end up like going to their lawyer and saying, hey, I'm going to raise $50 million or $25 million. And if I don't put in then that kind of raise, then these LPs are not going to take me serious and blah, 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 blah. They do that. They end up undersubscribed on their fund 1 or fund 2 sometimes. And then they can't raise another fund because all future LPs identify fundraising risk in their memos and things like this. And it becomes a huge problem, right? So less is more. You want to do your fund size is like the minimum fund size that you can like, oversubscribe in your sleep. Like you're not going to have any drama getting to the target that you think you're going to get to. And if that's $2.5 million for you, then that's $2.5 million for you. If it's $5 million, it's $5 million. You're going to have to go through a network assessment, and we're going to help you do that throughout the program. And then your job is to set a fund size and oversubscribe the hell out of it, right? So if you want to, if you ultimately want to get 10, set it at 5 and then get 10. Okay. That way, if you land at 8, it's not a big deal. It's actually, you still look great. All right. So we're going to help you with that. One thing I will say though, is that just the venture economics and math and things like this, for funds that are headquartered in the United States and Delaware, is it's really hard to do this for less than $2.5 million. Okay. And in other domiciles in the world, just because the ops costs are so much more expensive, you need to raise a little bit more. But don't worry about that for now. What I would say is just do a network assessment and we'll help you do that throughout the program. What will be the suggestion for us who want to be ready to join before being committed to the programs, like building an FLP network, certain transactions, such as being an angel investor first? I mean, it's not necessary to be an angel investor first. We've had plenty of people raise capital without that, so it's definitely not a requirement. I mean, the key is you need to have the network, right? You need to have the network to be able to raise the money because, I mean, think about what you're doing, right? You're going out to the market and you're saying, hey, LPs, let me manage your money for the next 15 years of your life to invest it in these ultra risky companies that you're not going to get liquidity from for 10 years, even though I've never done this before. Okay. It's a pretty big ask, right? And so who's going to back a person that's doing that, right? It's generally going to be someone that believes in you, that knows you have an edge, that knows you have a strategy, right? It's unlikely going to be some super random person that you don't know very well, and so you need to have people in your network that are willing to be sort of supporters. And then once you sort of get going, maybe do 1 or 2 closes on your fund, maybe you do some deals, maybe you get some markups and things like this. Then you sort of de-risk the fund for like more random LPs that maybe don't know you as well, right? But it's a pretty big ask. So the number one thing I would do is just go out and build a network and try to make sure you have enough there to go out and get this done. Okay. Uh, uh, how can we stand out in our application to join the next cohort? I mean, Blair, think of it like, what's like your edge, right? Like, this is again why demo days don't work for funds, why, because it's not like a startup, right? It's not like, oh, I see how this business works, and I'm willing to sort of invest in this business that's run by Blair. It's not like that. It's like I'm hiring Blair to manage my money for the next 10 years or 15 years, right? Possibly longer, depending on the kind of commitment that I'm making, right? So in order for me to make that leap of faith, I got to believe that you have an edge. You have access to something that other people don't, right? That you're able to get me into some super fascinating, super interesting startups around a thesis that I genuinely care about and have an emotional attachment to, right? And so I got to see that, you have this ability to do that. And on our website, there's like a thesis kind of pre-curriculum. And a good part of that, we focus on what's called the secret sauce, right? The secret sauce is basically like, what are you going to be able to do for LPs or whatever to have an edge to be able to produce these like incredible returns, which are very possible in venture, right? So I'll just focus on your secret sauce for that. And I think you'll do fine in that. But yes, go to the website and take a look at the pre-curriculum. I think it'll help you. Is there a category for search funds? This is from Joseph. Not right now. If we have enough search funds, the way we do these tracks, Joseph, is that if we have enough demand, right? So we had a whole bunch of studios join the program. So of course, okay, we'll do a thing for that. If we have enough search funds, maybe we'll do that. We've had search funds that have been very successful through this experience. So it does work for search funds, but if it's like 3 funds, then it's not worth doing a special breakout. Do you offer mentorship for people who are struggling with their first fund? I mean, everybody struggles with their first fund, so it's not uncommon. I mean, it's one of the hardest things you could possibly do to go out and raise a fund, especially if you've never done it before, right? This is exactly why this program exists. It exists for people like you that are doing that, and we understand why people struggle. And so we've at least are packaging things correctly for you, focusing on the right things so that you have a better opportunity to succeed, right? And so this is literally what we do. So hopefully that's helpful. Is this purely live or in person or hybrid? This is not in person. This is all online. Uh, uh, my management firm is also a solo GP. What do you mean by no website? Look, you should not have any materials online talking about what your fund is and what it does, period. And maybe we can put the general solicitation article in the chat here for people so that they understand. So, this is what this is, right? And so, you got to make sure that you do not put anything online. This is a general solicitation risk. These laws across the world are bad. Like in Europe, you can go to jail for general solicitation, right? So I don't know where you're at, but read this article. That's what it means. So don't do that, right? Don't put anything else. And so hopefully that's helpful there. You know, what recommendation would you have for funds associated with the studio? Yeah, so I'm not really sure where to start with this one. I mean, the biggest thing with studios is that you're gonna have you're gonna need to make sure that you have downstream investors for what you're doing. Most VCs don't like funding studio companies, Alejandro. And the reason for that is because the cap tables of these businesses are very different, right? Like often the studio will take 20% of the company, right? And so it's just the way the cap tables look are weird. And so a lot of these really struggle at Series A to raise capital. So when you sort of look at like the atomics and the sciences of the world, they all kind of forged partnerships with like Andreessen Horowitz and all this stuff. And so, that's how they were able to get these studio kind of companies kind of past that next phase. And then they're in a good standing after that, right? So just something to think about, but there's a whole lot of stuff. If you Google VC Lab Venture Studio, you'll see a pretty detailed article on a whole bunch of stuff you should be thinking about. I'm applying with co-founders. Should we apply separately or submit a single application? You will all apply separately because and then you just mentioned the same exact firm or fund name, and so just make sure, and then it will just sort of like merge them. But yes, everybody's going to do that. Everybody's going to have to share the oath. Everybody. Should we commit to the program full time? It would be better if you could, because you're going to have to be almost full time, if not full time, certainly pretty close to the end of it. Just in general, and again, this is not for the program, right? It's like if you're going to launch a VC firm, and this is like your new project, the new thing you're going to be signing up for, naturally, like once you get to that first closing and things like that, you're going to want to be full time. Your LPs are going to want you to be pretty much full time, right? Because you're managing their money, and so all of that is something you should be thinking about. I have a potential client that reached out to me and mentioned that I need to start an LLC, and they mentioned that they would provide a large amount of the fund for extension after the first few months. Yeah, so look, I'm not really sure what this means, but if you're going to start your own VC firm, and this is what this is about, this is what this call is about, you should not be setting anything up. No LLCs, none of this stuff, right? What I would do is I would send this LP, if they are an LP, a pact. It's a non-binding letter of intent. See how much they're actually going to willing to commit, and then you can start making decisions from there. So you can Google VC Lab Pact, and I would sort of send them that so that you can figure this out. Okay. Can I expect introductions to potential LPs during the course? No. And again, if anybody tells you that if you join my program or if you join my thing, you will get LP introductions. You should automatically think, hey, this is probably a scam. Okay. So let's take a step back almost. Remember what I just said before? I don't know if you came in late or whatever. Think about the ask that you're making, right? Dear LP, let me manage your money for the next 10 to 15 years to invest in these risky startups, even though I haven't done it before, or even though my experience is pretty limited before, right? It's a huge ask you're making, right? So the idea that some broker or some company or some organization can find the perfect LP that's willing to take that kind of risk on you is just not realistic. It's right. It's just not possible, right? And so anybody that says that is basically likely going to be a kind of a scam artist, right? It's basically like like brokers don't work, like random LPs are not going to come into like funds that they don't know, right? Unless the fund has been already launched and already passed first close or anything like that, right? And so if you're coming into this program to meet LPs, you have misaligned expectations, and I don't recommend that you join. Now, naturally, you're going to probably meet people like some of your cohort members are going to be LPs. We see this all the time. And so, yes, those kinds of things can happen. And we're working on systems, right, to help people that are post-launch and have done first or second closes to kind of drive more capital into these funds systematically. And we're working on that. But you got to have the right expectations, especially as you get to this first or second close, because you're not going to get the first close done and the second close done likely with random individuals that you don't know. And no organization or person can really get you there. And this is why you see so many scams right now with brokers and things like that. Not to mention most of them are legal because there's broker-dealer issues. So if anybody promises, you have to stay away. But in general, no, you should not be expecting LP introductions during this program. Okay. How important is content in newsletters and webinars for potential LPs? So Grace, you're gonna be using events and newsletters a lot throughout your fundraising process. It's gonna be like the bedrock of everything that you do, okay? Now, you're gonna have to have a newsletter. We're gonna work on that in the program when you're ready to actually have stuff to talk about, right? And then, you're gonna wanna sort of sequence everything out, like, volume event, conversion event, newsletter, volume event, conversion event, newsletter, right? And we're gonna cover all this stuff. So all of these things are very, very important from an investor relations perspective with regards to the LPs that you're keeping warm and going towards a close. Okay. What if I'm currently not able to pay the 1 to 5K fee? Is there a payment plan, or should I maybe be sent to the next cohort? I mean, Tim, to be fair, man, like if you can't like afford this, it's going to be really hard for you to get off the ground in general, right? It's just, I mean, you're going to need some money to be able to start a VC firm. So whenever you're ready to afford it, I would say come back. But I mean, it's like nominal. It really, like $1,000 is like kind of nominal, especially for what we're doing. I mean, Kaufman Fellows cost $80,000, right? And the reason we're doing this is because we want to make sure there's enough skin in the game, right? That people are truly committed to doing this, right? Because we're going to be investing a lot of time and effort in helping you, right? So that's that. That being said, if you get to thesis review and you fail, right? Thesis review, which happens sometimes because you can't get the commitments, we'll refund you back because, again, we don't really want your money if we can't help you. So hopefully that's helpful there. All right, I think we got through almost every question into the Q&A. I got 10 more minutes that I'm here on Zoom with you all. So if you have any final questions, let me know. If not, I'm happy to end this a little bit early. So I'm going to give everybody one or two more minutes to add something into the Q&A, and if not, I'll just go ahead and end it. Going once. Going twice. Going 3 times. All right, everyone. Well, I think we're good. Everyone, we put a bunch of links in there. Take a look at this. All this is recorded, so everybody's gonna get these, from us. So enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully this is helpful. Bye, everyone.